washrooms for the ladies and gents.
The Excellency, the Resident Coordinator for the United Nations, Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, the Director General for Fiji Red Cross Society, Executive Director for Fiji Council of Social Services, fellow humanitarian actors, ladies and gentlemen, Nisambul Vinaka, Namaste and a very good morning to you all. Let me begin once again by acknowledging all the hard-working men and women around the world serving on the front lines of the great crisis affecting humanity. This World Humanitarian Day, their bravery and vigilance are being tested as never before, as many respond to the devastating health, social and economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Whether it is COVID-19, climate change, or both, our world is beset by challenges that bear tremendous human costs. Fiji, in many ways, is exceptionally vulnerable to some of the planet's most severe humanitarian emergencies, particularly climate change. As a result, we hold a special appreciation for our real-life Fijian heroes, those first responders who shield our people from grave threats to their well-being, putting their own safety aside for the sake of others. Over the past several months, the heroism of these Fijians has never shone more brilliantly. It is difficult to imagine the same time last year, someone seriously telling us that Fiji would soon deal with a climate-fueled cyclone while also working to contain a deadly and highly contagious pathogen. Such a situation sounds less like a well-founded prediction and more like something out of science fiction. But that's the reality Fijians were living with in April of this year. As Cyclone Harold bore down on our country, smack in the middle of our effort to contain the spread of COVID-19. We all know this virus is an unpredictable beast. Any efforts to tame it can be undone by a single misstep. But even as we evacuated whole communities, even as we dispatched disaster officials to badly hit regions, and even as we delivered relief supplies, not a single case of the virus was spread as a result of our cyclone response. That feat is owed to vigilance and discipline of our highly capable disaster relief officials who, due to the impact of climate change, have been battle-tested by cyclones of ever-intensifying ferocity. Thanks to our decisive action to comfort both contagion and climate change, Fiji is now 123 days removed from the last case of COVID-19 in our communities, and we are steadily rebuilding from Cyclone Harold's devastation. Fiji's world-leading record on testing can confirm that there has been no resurgence of the virus in our communities, putting us in a rare company on the world stage. In fact, I think we may be the only country to contain a COVID-19 outbreak, safely manage border quarantine cases, and prevent the virus from returning among the public. That's an incredible feat, one owed to the bold leadership from our Honorable Prime Minister and to the many sleepless nights that aid workers, healthcare workers, disaster officials, and our discipline forces spent implementing our containment campaign. In ways big and small, our lives have all been touched in some way by the real-life heroes serving humankind across the world. Whether they are in Lebanon helping restore communities from the horrific devastation of the recent explosion in Beirut port, or in teams of mobile doctors delivering life-saving medical treatment in sub-Saharan Africa, or helping provide food and shelter to families displaced by human conflict or climate-driven events like superstorms or the rising seas. And I'm glad to see those stories. I'm glad to see these stories be told around the world through the hashtag Real Life Heroes campaign, including stories here in Fiji and the Pacific, which will be unveiled as part of today's ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, but though we can certainly try, we can never fittingly extol these women and men through a single day of recognition. These real-life heroes deserve our gratitude every single day. But if we are serious about honoring their sacrifices, simple thank yous will not suffice. We must actually act to solve crises which these heroes risk their well-being to address. We must act to stop climate catastrophe before it spirals beyond our control. We must act to end conflict around the world. We must act to make public health a top priority globally and ensure equal access to life-saving medical advances. This is how we truly acknowledge these heroes, and that is how we join them in serving humanity. In the case of Fiji, given the ever-present threat of COVID-19, I ask our people to celebrate this World Humanitarian Day by thinking seriously about how each of us can keep our people safe from this pandemic. We may be safe today, but we cannot risk becoming complacent. The good habits we've picked up in the past few months must become new ways of life. Please continue to be diligent about washing your hands, continue to maintain physical distance. Wherever possible, stay home when you are feeling unwell. And if you haven't already, please download the Care Fiji app, the digital contact tracing application. It's the best tool we have to speed up contact tracing if it ever again becomes necessary. I once again would like to acknowledge all humanitarian workers in Fiji, the Pacific, and across the globe. I thank you sincerely for all your support. In the spirit of humanity, I wish you all a happy World Humanitarian Day. Thank you and dhanyawad.
Please press launch video. Thank you. You may take your seat now, please. Ladies and gentlemen.
We are proving our resilience and rising back to our feet.